Hello, this is Mark Baer. Welcome to Conversations and Collaborations. My guest in studio, Jose Ortiz. Behind us, his team is collaborating on an art piece, and we'll have some stills of that. But we've been having an ongoing conversation for a couple of years now. And first of all, I think let's just talk about what you do, first of all, just for the audience, before we dive in.
All right. So I've been drawing since I was a child. So I've created a workshop studio space for illustrators some time ago, and that it serves children specifically that were out with the same passion, you say, or vocation for illustration, painting, sculpting, and fabrication. So we create imagery, and we serve in Salinas and everywhere almost. But definitely it's a nonprofit, and it's a company for these certain gender of children or adults, and we get them as young as 6. And all the way up to whatever age.
So you're teaching art, you're empowering kids, but you're also writing on walls.
Yes, we're writing on walls.
And you're doing large. One of the things we're going to talk about is large scale, scale and walls, and what a wall means in the community.
Yes, actually, we try to call them bigger than life kind of projects. Because they're probably bigger than ourselves, and it's beyond us. It's not just it's not like when you paint on a canvas, and which is yours, or it could be just this small window, but you're talking the larger view of the world or of your community.
So the responsibility is greater.
Yes, a little bit much more inclusive, you could say, or explanatory of what we feel our philosophy as a people are.
Condensed messaging.
Yes, there's a lot of symbolism. There's that tries to convey to the viewer about the unity that we all hold as human beings.
Your guys, okay, I've presented them with a 9x12 piece of canvas. 9x12 is a formidable size for an artist to deal with. It puts you, scale puts you back on your heels.
Yes,
and these guys looked at it and put out their stuff and showed no fear and just dove in. So that's already, magnificent. When I first met you, one of the things that we talked about is, okay, how you're going to do a public space, you're going to do a public wall, you're going to, you're dealing in Salinas with many, with the immigrant experience much time, when you're dealing with first generation America, you're dealing with the promise of America, people's place in that promise. These are all very powerful ideas, and so I asked you at that time, how do you prepare for that? How do you deal with that? And your answer was, you go and you listen.
Yes,
I thought that was quite profound.
Well, thank you. Coming from the same experience, what we like to think of Native American presence in Mexico. So coming to the United States and trying to look for a little place where we can actually live or, coexist with others. There is a transition. There are little moments that are very significant. So how we get there, it's very similar to some of the people that are coming in to the United States, or probably around the planet, because I think that people migrate everywhere. So migration is an important human state, human situation. So that in itself already carries imagery. It carries sentiments, feelings, emotions, and and a lot of imagery, and that for me was very, very intense, because when I started painting, I drew from those experiences, and immigrants don't stop coming, so they can continue coming. We have some that are just been here a couple of weeks, and so not only are they being or migrating, but they're also being transplanted. The language is different. Even the eating habits are different. God, it's a whole world. It's a new world, and how you want to put yourself in a place where you can grow roots and blossom. That's a task in itself.
And see if so the walls are a familiar language.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's also it's a familiar language. It's a comforting language. It's a new language, and it's a statement of empowerment, which you need to feel empowered to do this. And let's talk about a little bit about the mural tradition, your roots in it.
The idiom itself has been so transformed in my life at a very early stage that speaking was not something that I was very familiar with, because you're a child. But however, you go from one language to another one to another one. It's this transition of language. So when I learned that I can draw, that I can picture something, that I can observe something, and then actually put it on writing with imagery, that just took me over. And so what I can do with the language on illustration was a little bit more, for me, it was a little bit more significant. And so as I grew older, and getting, growing into the same situations, but with a little bit more clarity on the illustration than on the word. I mean, I do both. I like to illustrate words and write words. However, illustration usually just keeps me quiet. I just draw it, and I paint it, and I created it, and it's just peaceful to me.
And it helps you get out of yourself. It helps
Yes.
you. You may not even a word you usually understand. An image,
Yes.
you don't even know where it's coming from. And the whole thing is to, to get beyond your own mind.
Yeah, because an imagery could be different to different people.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the walls that you've done and the experience in doing that. What the challenge was, what the fear was, what the result was, and how it worked in the community.
To begin with, I didn't understand that at the beginning. It was just this love for big spaces. I was a child. I was looking for where to paint. So growing up, when the opportunities came, so it was like I was already, I don't know if I could call it ready, but definitely it was part of my my process, where somebody told me, "Can you just paint something on that wall?" And I just took it on, and I didn't really, like you said earlier, I didn't fear the size. Actually, I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was bigger than me. So I just moved on from one wall to another. But it's funny, because the walls came looking for me. It's funny to say that, but it's not like I was looking for the wall. Some people might like to think that, but no. Usually the projects came to me, and they would say, "Jose, can you paint something on my wall, or can you do this on this wall?" So it was started with individuals, and then it became for organizations and for other people. To me, it's simple, because all you need to do is just listen to the walls, listen to the people, just hear them and watch them, and then you get imagery, and then the walls begins taking charge.
So the mural tradition is a long tradition.
Yes,
So how do you how do you see yourself historically in
God.
in that tradition? And
I don't know if I do see myself historically, but but what I do, what I think, it's I like to think that painting are moment or moments. They're important because this is how we can console ourselves in a later. With the later generations coming in, they'll advise themselves. What were we doing in 2016? This is what we paint on those walls. And right now, technology is very important. So we paint people interacting with technology, and what it's favorable and unfavorable might be of that subject matter. And maybe people later on will realize that how can we continue? Should we continue with technology or shouldn't we? In my method or in my philosophy that I work with, it's to be more aware of everything around me, not just human, but also plants, animals. They're important, and how we are contributing or how we're disturbing, and that is a very it's something that is important now, and I think if we put it on a painting or on a writing, then it'll advise people later on how we should continue. Should we destroy or should we preserve? So should we continue to do the things that we were doing in 2016 or not?
let's talk about your colors, how you mix your colors, because you really have a specific palette that you use, which I want to hear about.
I started just by watching how the sky falls onto the ground and it reflects onto everything around it. How when the sun in the afternoons, it's this amazing color. Nature has so much to offer in color, and it was amazing. So I tried to imitate it. So I did it for a while, but then the colors became getting bolder and bolder, and they became a little bit more surreal and more. So I figured that if I could just follow my emotion, how it makes me feel, so my palette becomes a little larger and larger. So after a while, out of the 5 kind of what you call the basic or primary colors, all these other colors come about, and just one little drop of one single color might change it. It's amazing. So before we even start a project, we tried to, or at least I tried to work with different color variations, and I do, what you call a scale, but we also do the hot colors and the cool colors, and then we add more to it when it comes to make it into that color that might work onto the painting. So when we go up into painting a wall, we have about 50 different shades of color, about 10 shades of blue or 10 shades of red. And the thing is it just makes it fun for me. And when you put it up there and just remembering that where the light goes, where the shadow goes.
I tend to work with things that are affordable materials. I do a lot with cardboard. I do a lot with used materials. I want to and paints that are accessible, and that part of the messaging is anybody that wants to pick this up. It's not. It need not be.
You bet.
It need not be prohibitive. There's ways of getting this stuff.
Oh yes. We get, when we work with children specifically, we try to go to the basic stuff, pencil, paper, and even if you get crayons, watercolors, whichever they might be, generic colors, and anything that will allow you to put that piece out, to create something. And there's moments where we do fabrication specifically. We began with cardboard, even paper rolls, and we began to fabricate something. We'd use a lot of cardboard, a lot of materials that you might consider, for some people, might consider unuseful, but they have a use. And that's how we create our prototypes, and how we, like I see your tarps, this is a great material.
Yeah.
And you found a great use for them.
Yeah.
And how we can not be, say, like you said, we don't prevent from continuing because we don't have any financial resource, but we do with what we get. And you can access your creative process, and you can bring in the tools, because we already have fingers. I usually tell people, you're already built to construct and create. We have the five senses and the fingers, they're amazing.
A little over a year ago, we had a show together, and what the students put up of their mothers.
Yes.
The emotion and the skill level of that and what it communicated, it just blew me away. And blew you away.
Yes, it blows me
Yeah.
away. Every time I see a child that can actually, it's like watching me all over again. I never really noticed me when I was growing up. I was one of those kids that I was the last of my kind of thing. So when you see a child that can just get a pencil and just do these great things, it's amazing.
Okay, so these guys, were pushing them into the arts, we're pushing them into being artists. We understand the need in the community. We understand the responsibility of the artist in the community, especially the kind of working in the mural tradition, working on public walls, public spaces. But what we don't know, what even you and I don't know, is the entrepreneurial aspect of this. How do you survive? How do you survive beyond the granting issues? Because that's always tricky, because that's always a tight box, not where you may want to go or not go. And I personally feel that someone's got to figure out how to do this one way or another. There can't be this excuse, but how do young people and old people, I guess,
Sure.
How do we get more entrepreneurial and figure out how to make this work, how to get the art out, how to get the art to pay for itself in terms of at least the materials,
No, yes, we're interdependent humans, and so knowing just that, and that we are capable of going beyond just a simple project. We can go be multidisciplinary people. Because an illustrator, to me, an artist is someone who pushes himself or herself to become that, to just create themselves into this art piece. So it's an evolution. It's a process. I found myself at times working at 2 o'clock in the morning to meet or to create this piece that I'm working on, or to meet a deadline, and it's just, Mark, I believe it's the work ethic itself too, and it's how much time you put, how much dedication. Yeah, I think it's just like everything, it's
well, the other guys
success.
If you don't do it, I like art being competitive.
Yeah, because
again, it's like a sport, but you don't know the winner or the loser because there's nobody keeping score. But if the other guy's working harder, you better work harder. It's because the world really doesn't need another artist unless you're really in there really doing it.
Yeah, because I found that if the more you love your work, the more time you spend in your work, and the more you evolve, the more you develop it, and how you are considerate of people that will somehow later on will help you sustain your work. And it's not that you are trying to sell yourself. It's just that people want you.
But that's part of the, you know, in other
Yeah.
words, what I've learned is getting it out there, getting it known, uh, making people respect it, making people pay for it. That's part of the job.
Oh yes.
And
yes.
it's like the last part of the job any of us want to do.
When it comes to murals, that's always been an issue with me because sometimes it doesn't pay you as much as you probably want. Not to me at this point. However, what keeps me going, it's the imagery that comes out. It's all these moment that is created with meeting people, working with people, getting to know others, getting to know the world, getting to know yourself, your technique. You evolve. You're developing. You're becoming more aware or teaching yourself.
But the business
that-
side of it,
that-
if you don't do that well, it doesn't.
Yes.
None of this other stuff happens, and
Yes,
none of us want to do that side.
It's
Just, if I only had someone to run the, oh,
Yes.
if I only had this manager, it only had this, if only had this,
Yeah, the business-
and there is no, if only. It's like
Yes.
part of the job.
No, it's some people have been pretty, lucky to have a character to, they profit. There are people who can actually do that, and they're painters, and they can actually sell their work and still gain a lot of profit.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those yet. So,
but the idea is it is an enterprise, and
Yes,
it does
it is.
have to
Yes, it
we
is.
have to do these things to make it happen.
what I usually tell my colleagues, my young colleagues or students, is to value yourself. You value your skill, you value you, and then you choose which way you want to go, because we all choose in one way or another, and we can strive for the excellence or the lifestyle that we want to live. It's really up to the person. However, if in your work, people who like it, they'll buy it. They'll look for you, and it's your style that they're looking for. And not only the style, it's your person, because it's your person that's coming through.
Yeah.
And that in itself, it's already fulfilling. It's already success. I think the success to different people is different. I think that just to love you and have
the
those.
success is to keep doing it.
Yes, yes.
I mean,
and,
at the end of the day, I mean, that success is to
yes.
and not to keep doing it, but to keep getting better.
Yes.
So that's
learning every time.
That's
and
success to
evolving.
Success is to be able to go out there and blow yourself away.
Yes.
And go, wow. And
Yeah.
And your work, I describe it as heart and soul. The respect that you put in your work, I think it works in the community. That's what's it spreads so that other people can have dignity, respect, love, and it counterforce. It's a counterpoint to you're serving a big social purpose.
Somebody asked me about kids in the East Side, and I go, they also see sunsets. It's one of those kind of old sayings, but we're all more similar than we're different. But, the era where you are born, or the human situation, the human condition that you're born into, it's out of your hands. But once you come into this world and you see the opportunities, and then you put yourself, set a goal, and you find the opportunities, and you go where you need to go, and that should be okay. And you will move forward. And most of our kids do. In the east side of Salinas, we do have an infestation of scarcity of things, or financial opportunities. But there are some, and just take the little bit of a time until maybe you will not be this great person in your lifetime, but maybe your kids will get there. Maybe your kids will get it better. And that's the hope that most of the immigrants coming from places that have scarcity as well come and they find a way for their kids to have it a little bit better than they did. So it's just a process. Maybe my mother didn't get there, we were the first ones to actually try to buy a house and stuff. So here in the United States. So maybe our house is my little girl. She can probably move forward, and she's getting a college education, and she's going to move forward. But it's just how you install those values on them, and how it starts very young. They're little, and a lot of kids do, and a lot of parents do very good with their kids. But we do have those stumbling blocks that might not permit you to get there as soon as you want
But
to.
I see you put that into your messaging.
Yeah.
And again, dignity is dignity is what comes through, and just seeing a community respect itself, and it's really important.
It is very important.
You know.
Yes.
And so I just want to, before I end, I just want to go and talk about magic a little bit, because you really are in a magic tradition.
God.
You know, and you really see what you're doing as magic, and kind of the old world magician.
My God, the magic. It's funny how we as illustrators can create the magic too. It's what Disneyland's or what entertainment is about. It's magic. It's just we make it happen, and how you can pencil and paper can create this character and make it alive. It's amazing.
And the work on the wall says, "Look, people, there's magic around you."
Yeah.
And that's.
Well, thank you for saying it that way. It's just sometimes that we might not see the richness that exists in humanity until maybe you see this image, and maybe it'll talk to you about how much you already possess and how big you can really get if you put your mind to it. Most objects or most everything is done in that manner. How did somebody design this seat? How did it get here? Did it make itself, or it just somebody had to design it and manufacture it and build it, and that's what I think. It's an everyday kind of thing. It's how we are bringing product and creation to the world, and I think humans, we do that, and if we can do that with a child or yourself and your child, and then you have magic, like you're talking about, because they can create magic. I think that everyone is an artist. When you are born, you're already an artist. You are built to create and to think and to imagine. So what you do with that is really up to the person.
You know what I say is, imagination is a survival tool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm Mark Baer, Jose Ortiz,
Yes.
Maestro, and this is Conversations and Collaborations, and thank you.